Alright guys, thanks for taking 5 for chop saw safety today. I'm going to go through just a few quick pointers on best practices with this piece of equipment. So number one, we're going to go through tool inspection. Tool inspection is pretty similar to previous tools. I want to start with our cord first. Start at the saw first. Check to make sure string relief's in place. Check to make sure there aren't any nicks, tears, flat spots, abrasions in the cord. Last, look at our cord end and make sure we got all 3 prongs present, string relief's intact, and it is in good condition. On this particular piece of equipment, one of the major failure points or problems to note is with the guard assembly. So these are pretty well abused out in the field. They get used pretty heavily. A couple of common flaws with this guard is if there's too much material caked up and the saw hasn't been cleaned in between multiple uses, this guard won't operate freely as shown. There's also a pin here that sometimes will become displaced, which won't let the guard depress fully. And then lastly, there's a pin here at the pivot point, which holds the guard to the saw. You want to make sure that this screw here is good and tight and that it is free of travel with the guard. The last thing you want to check is the blade. So the blade itself on this piece of equipment has a nut similar to a gas cap, so you tighten it until it starts clicking, just like that, and that's tight enough. Do not over tighten it. Last thing we want to check before we start using the saw is we want to check the fence assembly. So a lot of times these are stored with them loose so that the armature can come all the way in. You want to make sure you pull that out to the proper location for the cut, lock it in place with the set screw, and then you are now ready to go plug it in, check the trigger assembly. The trigger works, saw turns on, also releases power when your hand's off the trigger. So now we can set up for placing the material inside the saw. Before you go use this saw, you need to make sure you have a hot work permit in place and at least an ABC fire extinguisher within 25 feet of your work area. Alright, so place the material within the saw. So today we're cutting a piece of rebar. What we want to do is place the material hard up against the fence, provide the clamp, lock it in place, mark for our cut, and now we're ready to use the saw. Face shield down. Shield up. Material's hot. Discard that. And that's it. So before we put this thing back away at the end of the day, we want to close the saw, lock it in place, unplug the cord, roll it up nice and neat on the saw so it's ready for next day's use. Thank you for taking 5 for today's safety video.